All right, happy Thanksgiving, y'all. I want to go over life cycles really quickly. We're going to do fungus and plants. Those were really tricky on the exam. So I'm going to do this sort of in the same style that the exam was. So grab the figures from your book. You can screenshot them. You can photocopy them. If you have a paper book, you can just write straight in your book. But you're going to want to take notes right on it. So we're thinking about the type of organism, where mitosis is happening, the dominant life stage, and where and where the gametes are. We also want to know if there's a sporophyte, a gametophyte, plasmagamy, caryagami, and what the heterokaryotic stage is. So the first thing to note, this is fungus. How do we know that it's fungus? Well, because of the multicellular organisms we looked at, fungus is the one that does not have mitosis in the in the diploid stage. The unicellular stage, of course not. So here's our diploid stage right here, and there is no mitosis. So no mitosis here. We only get mitosis in the haploid life stage. So this is where mitosis will occur, all throughout that stage there. So you could label any part of that with mitosis, and you would be correct. Anything that's in turquoise on here. So the diploid stage, no mitosis. So the other thing to look for here would be that there is a haploid multicellular organism. So in this case, our haploid multicellular organism is going to be most of the turquoise stuff. Okay, so all of this here, the mycelia, the kinetophores, like all of this kind of stuff, all the hyphae, that is all haploid multicellular. Now, plants also have a haploid multicellular stage, but plants have a diploid multicellular stage as well, but these ones do not have multicellular diploid stage. So no mitosis in the diploid stage, so only unicellular diploid, not multicellular. So the diploid is unicellular only. Haploid can be multicellular or unicellular. So that's something that is a feature of fungi. Their main dominant stage is their haploid stage. They only use their diploid stage during reproduction. Okay, so that's the big part. So all of the stuff that is in blue, that is like the main fungal growth stuff. So that's where the fungus is growing and growing. That's all the stuff in blue. And that is all haploid. Don't forget. When the fungus is going to go through sexual reproduction, so sexual reproduction, that's the right side over here, asexual reproduction. In the case of fungus, this is basically just cloning. It's cloning itself. That's on the left side there. So on the right side, we've got sexual reproduction. On the left side, we've got asexual. So sexual reproduction, we're going to have a couple of different main events happen. So one is that it runs into another hyphae of an opposite mating type. And then two, it's going to undergo plasmagamy with that. So it's going to fuse. So it's going to fuse cytoplasm with the opposite mating type. So two different individuals fuse their cytoplasm. This is not a diploid organism. This is not diploid. This is dikaryotic. N plus N. The nuclei have not fused, just the cytoplasm. That is plasmo for cytoplasm, gamy, plasmagamy. The next thing that will happen is caryagami. Caryagami. So this is our dikaryotic stage. Under caryagami, that is where our nuclei finally fuse. So fuse nuclei. And now it is actually diploid. Okay, so now we are at 2N. Okay, so this is our 2N. When here we're at N plus N. And before that, we are just at plain old N. So all the turquoise part is N. The purple is N plus N. And the pink is 2N. All right, so where is mitosis happening? Again, mitosis is only happening in the blue stages. So So mitosis in the blue stages when it is haploid. The haploid stage in fungus is multicellular, and the haploid multicellular stage is dominant. Oh, I forgot an N there, dominant. Fungi can undergo asexual reproduction, or they can undergo sexual reproduction. During sexual reproduction, they meet up with another individual of an opposite mating type. They fuse their cytoplasm. That makes a dikaryotic organism, and then they undergo nuclear fusion. They fuse their nuclei, and now they are finally diploid. Okay, once they're diploid, they do not undergo mitosis. They don't undergo mitosis. Instead, they go straight into meiosis and back into this dominant haploid stage. After they undergo this meiosis, they can disperse and start to undergo lots and lots of mitosis during germination. So next up, we have plants. Again, this is just from your textbook. So before we get started, make sure you have a copy of this that you can draw on so you can follow along really easily. Now, plants, like I mentioned before, are going to automatically, their life cycle will look different from a fungus because they have a multicellular diploid stage on this side. And a multicellular haploid stage, which will be over here on this side. The name of their multicellular diploid stage is the sporophyte. And the name of their multicellular haploid stage is the gametophyte. Okay, so those are their two major life stages, the sporophyte, multicellular diploid, and the gametophyte, multicellular haploid. Now, I'm not going to do animal life cycle on here, but the main thing to remember about animal life cycle is that we have a multicellular diploid stage, but we do not have a multicellular haploid stage. We go from meiosis straight into fertilization. We don't have a mitosis stage in between there. So if we have a multicellular haploid stage, then that means that this can undergo mitosis and this can undergo mitosis. So both of these two stages can do mitosis. You could, if you wanted to label mitosis, which I will do right in the middle here, you need to have arrows pointing at both the haploid and the diploid stages, okay? So both the haploid and the diploid stages for mitosis. So this is for all plants. Now, if you are a vascular plant, if you're a vascular plant, so you're a fern, you're a gymnosperm, you're an angiosperm, you're a horsetail, then your dominant stage will be the sporophyte. So this is for vascular plants. Those are sporophyte dominant. So in this case, we're looking at a pine tree. This would have a dominant sporophyte. It's a gymnosperm. If you are a moss or another non-vascular plants, so non-vascular plants, those ones have their gametophyte dominant. So for the exam, you could have put either of these, gametophyte dominant or sporophyte dominant, as long as you specified what kind of plant you're talking about. If you're talking about a moss, you're over here. If you're talking about a pine tree, you're over there. All right, so we've got most of our stuff already labeled on here. We have our sporophyte stage, our gametophyte stage. We have where mitosis is happening. We have which stage is dominant. That's pretty much it. So the other stuff to look for are going to be looking for meiosis. That's going to happen in the male and in the female plants. And then we're going to get a male and female gamete together to undergo fertilization. And then the fertilization is going to result in a 2N sporophyte. Okay, so after meiosis, we are N, haploid. After fertilization, we are 2N, diploid. So we're going to go back and forth between meiosis and fertilization. And that's going to be true for multicellular organisms in general, switching back and forth between meiosis and fertilization to go back and forth between haploid and diploid.